Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 3, Episode 14, Watchdogs. This is definitely, really the initial seeds, clearly the initial seeds of the Civil War stuff that's going to be happening later this year with, of course, Captain America Civil War. But the Watchdogs are definitely like the kickstart to the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. tie-in to the film. They have all the different newscasts and stuff. It's like, we need these people registered. We need to know what powers they have and who they are. And I was like, that's a really great way to do the tie-in. It's very simple. It starts really early. It's not like, a week from the show or a week from the movie, premiering, and it's like, here's the tie-in, and it's like, oh, we need this and we need that, like a week ahead of time. They're doing it way back, because I don't think it comes out for like another month and a half or so. So I thought that was actually really great the way that they did it. Probably another 2 months. I think it doesn't come out to like towards the end of May or something like that. But I thought that was really cool. It's like, alright, I like that they're doing this tie-in super early, because it wouldn't just be poof, all of a sudden people are now complaining, and then, the next week the movie, or, that week actually, because they're probably going to do it on that Tuesday, the movie comes out and stuff. So I really enjoyed the way that they did this, where it was like the first little seeds, the first tie-ins to Civil War, and people talking about how they feel mutants need to be kind of reined in, and how they need to know who they are and know what their powers are, what they can do, and where they live, and all sorts of stuff. So I love those really little nods in the newscast. I like the Watchdogs themselves. I thought they were cool. They had crazy technology, because when the guy shot the little blast at the building, I was like, okay, I'm gonna assume that those are bombs. And it was like, alright, they're getting brighter, they're getting brighter. There's going to be like a crazy big explosion and just like destroy a big part of the building in like 4 little shots. And then it blew my mind, because I was not expecting that those shots would basically, reach their final point and then cause an implosion of this entire building into this little tiny ball. And I was like, that was amazing. Visually, it just looked really cool. The weapon itself, concept-wise, was just great. And I was like, that looked really cool. It really surprised me, because like I said, I thought for sure, it was like, oh, okay, he shot some sort of laser-looking type bombs. They're going to blow up really big, destroy the building. And it just warped the entire thing inward. And I was like, that's actually very awesome. Very reminiscent of Ant-Man as well, for anyone who may or may not have seen that, not to spoil anything. There's a scene where something almost exactly like that happens. It's much cleaner in the Ant-Man movie, where it's just like, it's not like that type of building, but it's it's completely destroyed. Like what they blow up is just like, it's gone. It was almost like a wormhole in that. So it's not the same technology, but it looked very similar. It reminded me instantly of that when it imploded on itself. It didn't form like a ball or anything. It was like, when they blew up this thing, it was like it was never there. It was just a blank canvas almost. But I thought it was great. That was a cool piece of tech. We get a lot about Mack in this episode, which was actually really great. It was great to do that after the last episode, where he loses kind of the 2 people that he was closest to on the team. And I love that. We get to hear, I'm assuming, we get to hear him called Alfie. We find out that his name is Mack, because Mackenzie is his last name. So I'm guessing Alfie is short for Alfred, or something like that, I would assume. But it was really cool. We got to meet his brother. We get to find out, stuff about him and his parents, and how his parents used to live in that house, but they moved out, and how his brother's now taken over the house, and how he can't really afford certain things, and just all sorts of stuff that's happening, and how his brother is kind of a little bit in line with the Watchdogs, and how he sees, Inhumans, and just, other creatures in general outside of just normal humans. So I thought that was interesting. It was a nice little way to look at Mack's character from a different side, and see what he deals with in his family life, and how, they have simple things like, going to Baja is like something they talked about since they were children. Just little stuff that we get to learn about Mack. And I like that. I thought it was really good, and him kind of saving his brother like towards the end of the episode, and them kind of working together inside the house and everything, and his brother of course finding out he does not work in insurance. So I like that. I thought that was actually really good to see his character in that way, and learn more about him and his family life, and how his world as a spy really does take him out of the normal world, and how he's 3 days late to help his parents move in, and how he just isn't around very often, and it's insurance and stuff like that. So I love that. I like getting to see that, because that's something that they've never really talked about in this show, where people really leave their lives behind. They did it with May a little bit, And in that case, it was very different because Andrew always knew. I'm assuming he always knew because that's all. Every flashback is like, oh, he knew exactly what she did. So it was always really simple in those cases, and he knew even way back with the cavalry thing. He knew about that even when it happened. Like that's what kind of broke them up. So he knew even before that. So it was different in their case, but it's always like that. It's always people knew what was going on, or people like Rosalind before she was killed, of course. She, when she and Coulson were kind of together, they knew what was going on. It wasn't like one person's hiding anything. So we got to finally really see that side of things in this show, which I thought was cool. So I was actually glad to see that. And it's a minor thing. It's kind of in anything with spies. It's like, what is your real life like? But in spy shows is where we really get to explore that, because in movies it's an hour and a half and that's it. But for this, we get individual character episodes, or at least big focus on one character per episode. So certainly enjoyed that. Daisy definitely went pretty hardcore in this episode, trying to take out the Watchdogs, which I liked. I personally enjoyed that scene. Mack was not on board whatsoever, but I thought that was a great scene. And she's in front of the guy's car, and then she like blows out the window next to him, and then she blows out the window behind him, and it's like, look, I want information to take these guys down. And yeah, she scared them and threatened them, but I was kind of on her side. Like, she mentioned their shield, and she didn't exactly hurt the guy. She just scared him. It was a very, vigilante, like tactic, but they're killing people. I mean, they blew up an entire building, which I believe was completely empty anyway. Like, they knew it was empty or something like that. But clearly dangerous people. Like, these Inhumans who didn't choose to be, not human, or be, they didn't choose to be Inhumans and get these crazy powers and in some cases deformities or anything like that. So I was totally on her side. I was like, they suck. They're like, they just blew up a building. It was like a crazy supernatural terrorist act, basically. I'm not exactly worried about civil liberties and stuff. I was like, meh, I don't, I'm on her side, to be totally honest. But I think that's kind of a part of it. That's in a sense kind of the overarching sort of tie-in with Civil Wars, literally civil liberties and stuff. So I like that idea. I thought that was actually good. It was a great way to show TV-wise, which I can't wait to see if they'll explore this differently, because we know exactly where Mack is going to stand if they do this tie-in like even crazier, where it's like, this is really what's happening, which they have to because it's a big deal. They have to talk about it inside of the show, and they might have a Civil War sort of deal within the storyline of the series as we get closer to the movie. And I'd like to think that Mack is going to be on the side of Tony Stark, where it's like, no, in humans, everyone with powers, whether you actually have powers or you're like Tony Stark where you have a suit and you can do stuff basically like you have superpowers, you need to register and you need to let people know who you are and what you do, what powers you have, everything. And I know that's not going to be the case for Daisy, and I know it's not going to be the case for Lincoln either. And I feel like it wouldn't be for Coulson. I feel like Mack is really, he'd be the odd man out in that case, and I think everyone else has a certain tie-in for that. But I believe Fitz and Simmons might also be on that side as well, just because of the stuff they went through, specifically with Ward. And I don't know, but I mean, whatever they do, I'm waiting for that. I think that'll be really great for us to see the show itself have its own little civil war where the team, they'll be fine. It won't be like they battle like in the movies, but I'm excited for that. I think that'll be very cool to see how they do that tie-in. And like I said, these were the seeds. They did the little news pieces and stuff like that. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. Like, they need to register, and we need to know who these superheroes are. It's like, that's good. That's good that they're starting the tie-in very early. So I certainly enjoyed that. We have a guy come back who used to work for S.H.I.E.L.D. and turns out that he's not actually healed like we thought he was with the hologram thing. He's actually in a wheelchair, and he's working with Mack towards the end to stop all the freaks. I thought they were just going to kill him at the end. I really thought the guy, he has telekinesis. I thought he was going to use his powers in front of him and like freak him out or something, and then just kill him right there. But they're keeping him on his side, or they're keeping him on their side, I should say. But they got a nuclear warhead at the end of this episode, and I'm assuming that has to be involved in the final, that future space mission sequence that we got. There's no way that it's not. Like, there's a nuke, it went up in the air, and things got pretty crazy. So I'm looking forward to whatever they plan on doing, which I would assume would only really be to destroy stuff. So we'll see how that plays out. But I thought that was a great way to end things. It's like they actually got a nuclear warhead. Promo had me super excited because everybody knows Ward is coming back. I can't wait to see that. They did the slow motion thing. He was straight out of the Matrix, and that all he needed were glasses that didn't have the things on the side. Get some Morpheus glasses to just sit straight on his nose. But I'm excited for that, despite him seriously looking like he came right out of the Matrix. Very excited for this next episode. I really enjoyed this, and I was glad that they did a really good focus on Mack. Really good side story with both Daisy and Lincoln had pretty good side stories. Lincoln had his thing where it's like Coulson wasn't happy with the evaluation. Like, you're here for Daisy, and that's clear, but you need to be here for the team. And I like that. And, ultimately he passes, like, he didn't want to actually kill the guy, and it's like, you basically voice an opinion for a non-destructive alternative, but ultimately you follow orders, and that's what it was. So I was like, that's pretty cool. And Coulson knew the guy wasn't actually there and everything, so I was like, alright, that's pretty cool. Lincoln's officially a part of the team, everything's worked out. And Daisy, of course, kind of had her little journey, and how that kind of split her up from Mack. And they've definitely gotten close, because they are kind of the, it's always like Bobby, Hunter, and then it's Daisy and Mack. They're like the two duos on the team, and of course we lost one of those duos, which is kind of why Mack gets hit so hard, because his closest friend now is Daisy, because they were always like the outgoing team, and he wasn't super close with May, even though she goes out a lot. But I thought that was cool. They had their little split in this episode. Like I said, kind of slightly referencing Civil War a little bit, but really enjoyed this one. It was a great nod to the movie without being too heavy-handed on, like, here's a tie-in and stuff. It was just clear, like, these are the seeds of Civil War, and these are the seeds of separating people as to where Inhumans and superhumans, period, stand on Earth compared to normal humans. Mutants, Inhumans, everything in between, aliens, whatever. It was really the seeds of that, and I certainly enjoyed that. And they mentioned the Watchdogs were around for a while, but now they've kind of upped the ante. So we might get to see more of them. I'm sure the guy has, more men. He's getting more weapons from Malik and everything. So I think we'll begin to see the Watchdogs even after, everything that they do with Civil War. We'll still see the remnants of them. It's just a bit of an organization in general. But certainly enjoyed the seeds of, Civil War, and how they're doing a very early nice nudge to the tie-in and everything like that. So really excited for it. Definitely want to know what you guys thought about this episode. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, least favorite parts. And of course, got to ask you guys, as far as everything that happened in this episode, do you believe that we will be getting kind of a full-on Civil War act within Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. itself? We have some other stuff, some stuff I completely skipped over. They did mention a lot about Andrew and finding him, and so we have May and Simmons working together, or at least starting to work together in order to find Lash. That was really it, so I guess I didn't really skip over that much. But they mentioned it, so we're going to be getting Lash back a little later in the season, which I am excited for. Had a great moment for Simmons where she's talking about how she's kind of broken down a little bit because she feels responsible for those deaths, because she wanted to save herself, and then he went on that rampage to save her. And then, of course, he killed all those other innocent Inhumans in the tubes afterwards, or in the cases. But, they're starting on that, so excited for that as well. But I definitely want to know if you guys think we'll be getting a true split, just like in the films, if we'll get that inside of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., or what we'll be getting in general. Because, of course, with Warwick coming in, they're going to be dealing with all of that, plus Civil War at some point, and people talking about they should register, shouldn't register. I'm sure there'll be people within S.H.I.E.L.D. itself, all those extra people that we never really get names for that are always in the background. I'm sure we might get some voices out of those people at some point as we get closer to the movie. But I definitely want to know your speculations for how you think they might play with sort of the Civil War tie-in, especially now that they've clearly shown. I guess if you were paying attention, if you didn't know, then you probably could have missed it. But I thought it was pretty obvious with the news reels and stuff like that that they were doing that. Yeah, that they were doing, sort of a really early tie-in for it. But I want to know your speculations for where you think it might be headed. And, of course, what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.